a small group? What does a small group meeting look like? How does it function? And that's what I'm going to be touching on this afternoon. Going into the very practical steps, my goal is that at the end of this afternoon, even if you've never heard anything more about small groups, you'll at least have a seed of knowledge of how to start and run a small group. Are there more things you can learn? Yes, there are books written and all sorts of things. But I hope I can give you enough this afternoon that you can hold it, take it, and run with it, and in the spirit inspiring you, being your guide, you can make an impact in your life and life of your community. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let me first of all get back to the slide I want to do. I got ahead of myself here. All right, here we go. And all right. So we're going to do part one now. The thing about this afternoon is it's going to be interactive. So far we've been sharing a lot of informational content. So this afternoon we will share information, but there will be these breakout sessions for you to practice some of the things you're learning. And so for those of you who are in person rather at the different churches, we're going to have you break up into groups. For those of you who are here online with a device, we're going to have an opportunity for you to be in a group online as well. So hopefully everybody should be able to experience this, the breakout sessions this afternoon. Okay, so now let me start with a disclaimer. There are probably as many different small group meeting flows as there are days of the week. What I'm presenting to you today, is this what the apostles did when they first started meeting? Almost certainly not. I'm sure they didn't have full W's to define what it was. But what I'm describing is something that I have used for many years. When I learned about small group ministry at the seminary, gosh, a little over 12, 13 years ago now, Dr. Don James was the one who was teaching at Annie at that time at this subject. And this is the system, this is I'm sharing with you what I received from him. So I've used it, it works for me, it works very well. But if you have something you've done before and it's a little different, this is not the Lord, the Medes, and the Persians. But I would encourage you to try it. Oftentimes we have paralysis by analysis. We're not doing anything, we're trying to find the perfect thing. So try this. So we have used, to help it to be easy to remember, we have used the letter W. We call it the 4 W's. And each of these elements, if you have each of these elements in your small group meeting, you will have an evangelistic small group meeting. Now there are other elements, other things that could be added to it that we can talk about another time. Here's the basics, here's the foundation. So I want you to imagine with me, okay? You've organized and you have a small group, maybe 6 to 8 of you are meeting, maybe in someone's home, someone's apartment. Maybe now that the weather is nice, you're meeting outside in a park or some sort of public space, maybe a local coffee shop, or maybe it's even at church, at a coffee, wherever it might be. Okay, so I want you to imagine with me, you're there, you're with 6 to 8 people who you're starting a group with. What are you going to do as you meet together? Well, the very first thing you want to do is the welcome, the icebreaker. Okay, and if you think about the flow of that, that's you to me. Okay, so that's us connecting with each other, you connecting with me during the group meeting. We're going to talk more about each of them. Let me introduce the 4. So first is the welcome or icebreaker. The second W is works. And I'll be honest, this is the most awkward of the names. We just had to find something with a W to make it device that you can remember. But really, this is the part, we can think of this as the outreach part of the meeting. This is the part where we focus on, as a group, how can we reach out to the world, how can we extend Christ's purpose to the world. So this is us to the world, and God through us to the world. So that's the connection. So it's not just in the group, but it's out of the group. So the group. Then worship. We have a time of worship where we experience Jesus' presence, and that's us to God. We are pouring out our worship to God. And then the final section is word time. We gather around God's word, experience Jesus' power, and that is God speaking to us. So welcome, works, worship, word. There might be a quiz at the end of this, so I'm just telling you now. I may come back and ask you the 4 W's, and if I ask you the 4 W's, you know that it is what? Welcome. I can't hear you, but I hope you're saying it. Works. Third one. Worship, and the last one is word. Okay? If you have that, you have the basis for a small meeting. Let's go to the welcome. Why do we do the welcome? What is this about? Okay, so this is an icebreaker kind of moment. And it's something to help move us from the everyday work week or whatever we're going through to start relating and thinking about each other. It's usually we use a simple question, nothing too complicated, and it's not a closed-ended question. In other words, not a question that you can answer yes or no. So for example, here would be a closed-ended question. The Cubs are a much better baseball team than, is it the Yankees? Yes, the Yankees is the New York one, right? You can see I'm still trying to learn from my American sports. Let me make it easier. The Bears are a much more better football team than the Giants, okay? If I ask that question, well, first of all, I'm starting a fight. But second of all, you can only answer yes or no to that question. And that's the end of the conversation. So when we have these icebreaker questions, we want them to be a question, you know, that you don't have yes or no. Let me give you an example, a more serious one. You perhaps see this in your Sabbath school class or groups. Someone will say something like, did you have a good week this week? It's an honest question, right? I think the person is trying to invite you to share about your week. But the answer to that is either yes, I didn't, yes, I did, or no, I didn't, right? So you ask that question, you get very nods and yeses, you know. And then maybe you follow up, well, did God bless you this week? Yes. And it's like, the awkwardness takes over, so then we just launch into teaching. Here in your small group, you're going to want to use a question that's open-ended so that you get a conversation. And you don't want a question that's too deep. For example, you know, you don't want to turn into a therapy session. You know, what is the most difficult experience you have been through in your life? You know, I mean, that's an open-ended question. But yeah, that's quite heavy, right? That's quite deep. It's going to be like, oh man, I'm going to share that. So we don't go too deep. Something that can be answered fairly quickly. Let me give you an example, okay? So here are 2 great examples of a good icebreaker question. Where did you live between the ages of 7 and 12? Simple question, open-ended, you can't answer yes or no, and you were invited to tell a story. Next one, share a really happy experience you've had in your life. Okay, here are just a couple of examples. There are more that you can find if you Google, you know, open-ended icebreaker questions on the internet. You can find so many. There is a book, resource that I used to use. I think it's still available through Amazon. It's like 101 conversation starter questions, something like that. The point is you can find a question to ask to use there. Some groups do like a family news time, where, and these usually work for groups that are more established in home, for instance, where they give 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to kind of share what's been happening in their life. So hey, you know, guys, let's share what's been happening in our life this week. Maybe someone says, hey, yeah, you know, thanks for praying, we got the job, you know, we're closing the house. Oh, great, yeah, wow, great work. Or, yeah, listen, guys, unfortunately, you know, I'll let go from work this week. Oh, wow. Let's gather around and pray. So some groups use a family news, and that can work. But the point is, we want to have something at the start of the meeting that gets everybody relating to each other and talking, so that it doesn't become just like a one-way stream between the facilitator and the rest of the group. Okay? So that's the welcome section. It doesn't have to take more than 5 to 10 minutes, okay? But just something to get things going. Then, the next thing that we do is the works section, okay? And you can call this the witness listening section. This is the outreach section. And you know, again, the purpose of this is to make sure that in every group meeting, we intentionally focus our attention on those outside the group who need a community experience, those who do not yet know Jesus. And the reason why we do that is to answer the question that we had again, that we had last night. So we posed a good question. Given, I'm just trying to make sure that my timing is on point. Okay, I'm in a good place. So we asked the question last night. Could we start a group that at first was more focused on, you know, studying Adventist teachings and doctrines and kind of, you know, getting ourselves kind of studied up, and then transition to reaching out to others? And we gave an answer to that. Here's an additional response to that. If you start that way, even if you start that way, have a works section or a witness section in your meeting. So yeah, we might be about to dive into Daniel 7, but before we do that, can we spend 5 or 10 minutes thinking, praying, planning, strategizing for ways that as a group, we're going to reach out to those outside the group who need the community experience and those who don't yet know Jesus. Because if you're doing that, that will go a long way to making sure that the group doesn't just become internally focused. So, during this time, what do we do during the work time? We get out and knock on doors? No, that's not what we do during this time. But we plan for things. So during this time, plans are laid for reaching our friends. I mentioned yesterday, or possibly this morning, about praying for 5 people, encouraging everyone to pray for 5 people in their life. We talked about that during this time. Having to reach out to our friends, neighbors, people at the gas station, whatever. We have the feeling to be really exciting and creative in the way that we think of connecting with people and doing outreach, doing evangelism. This is really, honestly, my favorite part of our group time together. So if we really do this right, so many amazing things can come out of the work time. If I have time, I'll tell you a couple of stories about things we have experienced through this. So each group should have an outreach captain. This person will keep track of the plans, and every week at that time, they will lead that session like, hey guys, you know, here's what we're planning. In a month, we're going to have a barbecue, and you know, it's Chris's birthday. We'll be having a barbecue at such a place. Make sure that you invite those people you've been praying for to that. And, you know, that could be a wonderful outreach moment where you connect with people as a small group, make a connection, and then you can invite those people to your small group meeting. Right? We can talk more about it later, but that will be what is done in that led by that outreach captain. And this is also a good way to develop people for leadership. Right? It's a small role, it's not that much, but if a person can start leading in outreach time and work time, then maybe they might be on track to become a potential small group leader for the future. So, evangelism, first and foremost, is based on prayer, right? So we can have all the ideas, all the strategies, but if we don't pray, we are not going to see the results we want. One of the activities that many groups find helpful, many of the groups I have led and coached have done this with great success, is prayer walking. So in some ways, this is taking the principle of loving your neighbor as yourself and doing it practically. Through this, we get to know the spiritual condition of our neighbors. So what we do, what we have done is, and again, we would plan this and organize this during the work time, but we wouldn't do it during the work time. So let's say, for example, your group meets on a Friday night or a Sabbath afternoon. You might say, okay, the coming Sunday,
recording in progress,
or whatever time, you know, we have a public holiday on Monday, whatever it might be, we are going to do some prayer walking in this location. Now, ideally, you want to do the prayer walking close to a home or homes where the group meeting takes place. So the group meeting doesn't have to only always happen in the same home. It could rotate to the different homes of people want to do the prayer walking close to that, so that as you make contact with your neighbours and community, you can invite them to the group that's close to them. So what would that look like? So you would walk in pairs, you and your accountability partner. In our small groups, one of the things that we do is we try to pair people up, someone of the same sex to be an accountability partner. So you walk with that person through the neighborhood, and you would just pray for the doors that you walk past, or the apartment buildings that you walk past. Now, I realize that in some neighborhoods, walking might be a little bit more challenging for a number of reasons, but take this and kind of contextualize it for your space, for your environment. So we would walk, and we would pray. We wouldn't knock, certainly not straight away, we would just be walking, and we would be praying. And we would be praying out loud to each other. Now, some people are nervous about this because they feel like, oh, we're going to look like very strange, I don't know, some kind of religious fanatics on the street praying. But honestly, I've done this many times, and when you're with somebody else, and you're walking and talking and praying, people just think you're going for a walk and having a conversation. And especially if you don't suddenly drop to your knees on the ground in front of someone's doorstep, you raise your hands and start laying hands on their door. But as long as you don't do that, you're probably going to be okay. And if the Spirit really to do that, then go ahead and do that. But you get my point. The point is just you're walking with your prayer partner, your accountability partner, you just pray. And as you walk past a home, you might look for things that you might notice to pray for. Oh, there are some toys in the front yard. Maybe there are children in this home. Oh man, around the house looks a little bit messy, maybe a little bit overgrown. Perhaps this is somebody who's not physically able to take care of, what's going on. Maybe you can pray for their health. Things like that. You're going to pray as you notice. Most of them you're going to pray that God will impress their heart to have a yearning for Him, right? So you do this. So you would get your entire small group to do that. And again, maybe you say to them, hey, listen, you don't have to all meet up and do it. But this week, you and your partner walk in your neighborhood and choose some streets and walk them and claim the territory for the kingdom of God. So I want to tell you a quick story about the experience that I had doing this. Some of you may be aware that the UK is a very secular place, much more secular than even places like Chicago and New York here in the States. Really, Europe in general is very secular, very godless. And so many of the traditional methods of outreach and evangelism that we use here in the US and around the world don't have the same kind of impact and results in the UK. And so I was teaching a small groups class similar like this a few years back now. The difference was people had gone away for a week intensive. So we were teaching more than we were teaching during this weekend at Dr. James. And so we were just giving people lots of information. They stayed overnight in a dorm type of situation, and by day we trained. So we had some practical elements because we wanted people to not just hear the information, but actually be able to do it. So we decided that we would do prayer walking in the city of Nottingham. That's like Nottingham, off Robin Hood and Sherwood Forest. It's a university town, college town, very secular, with the students, people with a more progressive mindset, not really religious at all. Many people who immigrated for study, a lot of student housing, and that sort of thing. So that was the context. But we said, you know what, let's try it. And it's the UK, it's secular, people don't respond to this, so let's give it a go. So typically we would do our prayer walking strategy over 2 months, maybe going every other week. But since we were already there for a week, we did it in 4 days. So here's what we did. The first day, as instructed, that's what I just shared, we walked and just prayed for the Lord. We did not do anything, we just walked in pairs and prayed for the community. Then, on the second day, we left a door hanger on the doors. Here's an example of a door hanger that you might find. You can make them yourselves, you can find them, I'm sure, online, you can design them on Canva. But it's basically a very simple thing that you hang on someone's door that just says, someone cares for you, your home was prayed for today, And it gives us a thing like, hey, is there anything we can do more? If you have any special requests, please put it down, right? Simple Bible verse. So that's what we did. So the first day we went and we prayed. The second day, we went back, we prayed again, but we left the door hanging. Again, in your small group, that might be the second week, or if you do it every other week, the week after that, right? The first time pray, second time go and leave the door hanging. The third time, we went, So the third time, what we would do is that we would go, and now we would knock on the doors. This is maybe the scary part for some. But we knocked on the door, and we simply said, hey, we're some friends from the neighborhood. We've been praying for people in the community. We left you one of these door hangers, and you have a door hanger, an extra one as well, because of course, what does everyone do with the door hanger? They throw it in the trash. So that's what you do when someone drops a door hanger for windows or whatever. Service they will, so you throw it away, so do I, right? So don't be offended that they throw away your prayer away. But it gives you an excuse to talk to them. Because I prayed, you dropped it. I literally saw a door hanger, you could say. And we said, we've been praying for the community. I'm wondering if you have any special prayer requests that you'd like us to pray for. And here's the amazing thing I discovered. In secular Europe, secular UK, people don't want anything to do with church or religion or Bible or Quran, anything. But for some reason, there is still an openness to prayer. I don't know why. I wish I could tell you why. I wish someone had done some research I could find out why. Maybe it's because people think of it as almost like a good luck thing, like good wish. I don't know. But for whatever reason, people were open to that. No one shouted at us, no one slammed the door, no one cussed us out. The worst case scenario, people would just say, oh, thank you, but no, I'm fine, I'm okay. But more often than not, people were like, wow, thank you, yes. Pray for this, pray for, my mom is sick, or such and such and such is going on. And so we would pray for people. Now, here's the amazing thing. Me and my prayer partner went to one door. And actually, no, it wasn't us. It was somebody else in our group. They went to someone's door. And I guess the person who the door they knocked on had never really been in church or something, and they didn't realize that there are some things that you're not supposed to pray for. I don't know if you realize that, but as Christians, we have this unspoken rule that you can pray for health, that you can pray for getting a job or for forgiveness. But if it's something too trivial, we feel like, oh, we shouldn't pray for that. But I guess this person didn't know. So when the team knocked on their door, they said, we've been praying for you, you see our mail, our door hanger, etc. Do you have any prayer requests? They said, yes, actually, my washing machine has stopped working. And I'm wondering if you can pray that God will fix it. Now, I don't know how you feel, but everybody knows that God does not heal appliances, right? I know that's in the Bible, and people find that in the book of Hezekiah or something. But God does not heal appliances, right? I mean, come on. This is a God of the universe who sits up high and looks down. No, he doesn't have time for that. But of course, these prayer partners are very gentle and very gracious. And yeah, we'll pray. And as they're leaving, he said, oh yeah, another thing, the clock in the kitchen has stopped working. Maybe you can pray that God would make that work. Okay, we'll pray for your clock. Maybe just change the battery, or whatever, we'll pray for it. So they did. They came, and so what we do is, after you get the request, you come back and you pray with your prayer partner. You bring the prayer request to your group. So that evening when we came back, we prayed in groups for all of those different requests, including the ones that asked for the washing machine to be fixed. And now here's the fourth stage and the exciting part. You then go back and knock a second time to find out how things are going and if the prayer was answered. And if not, could we pray some more? Okay? So again, under the usual circumstances, maybe you do it over a week, maybe you do it every other week. So it'll either take you a month or maybe a couple of months So week 1, you just walk and pray. Week 2, you walk, pray, leave the door open. Week 3, or time 3, you walk, you pray, you knock, and you have the door knocker flyer in your hand and say, hey, we've been praying for you a couple of weeks now, or a month now. Just wanted to introduce ourselves. Did you see our flyer? Is there anything that you would like prayer for? Okay? They tell you whatever, or nothing. And then you pray. You tell them, hey, we're going to come back in a couple of weeks or so and see how things are going. And then you would come back the 4th time and say, as these friends did, we did this in 4 days, not 4 weeks or every other week or 2 months. They knocked and said, hey, listen, we prayed for you, and I'm sure they were embarrassed to even ask, how's the washing machine? But before they were able to get to that question, when the person recognized who it was, they said, oh wow, it's you guys. You'll never believe it. The washing machine works now, and the clock is keeping time again. So I remember when they came back and shared a testimony with us, I was full of my chair, because apparently God does heal appliances, and He loves to answer prayers, especially of people who are coming to faith, as we learned yesterday, those who are being saved, in the process of the journey of salvation. And that's something special about that. Some of you perhaps have experienced this. You've been faithful for God all your life. And there have been things in your life you've been praying for months, for years. And God somehow has some answers. And maybe you come to the place where you're almost feeling like you might want to give up on faith because you're not sure if God hears answers. I encourage you that God does answer prayer. But it seems to me, and I could be wrong on this, Pastor, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that at times, those who God knows, those who He trusts, those who have that relationship with, like Lazarus and his 3 sisters that were close to Jesus, occasionally He allows us to go through tough times where He doesn't answer our prayers as we would wish, because He knows He can trust us because we have that relationship with Him. And He knows that He will answer it in the end in His way to His glory. But for those who are just new, barely trying to see if God is real, I've discovered that God eagerly wants to answer their prayers, even the ridiculous ones for the washing machine, just so He can give them an opportunity to realize there is someone out there who cares. There is God who loves you. So I can tell you even more stories, but here's the upshot of this. When you come, you ask, hey, has anything happened? We've been praying for you. And then they tell you, oh, thank you. You know what? I did get the job. Wow. Actually, no, my mom is still sick. But we have so much more peace now. Just knowing someone's praying for us. You're starting to build that connection. Now here's the 4th part. Here's where it becomes even more intentionally evangelistic. We then would ask, hey, this is amazing. We're so glad we could pray with you. Listen, I wonder if you might be interested in knowing a little bit more about God. We've been praying for our neighbors. We also have a very simple resource to help you to understand the Bible. Would you be interested if I brought something for you to help you understand who God is from Scripture? Would that be something you'd like? Basically, you are inviting your neighbor into a Bible study experience. You know what we discovered? In secular UK, where Pastor, I don't know if this is how it is in New York or wherever, but you have an evangelistic meeting, and sometimes you put out the flyers, you go get 1, maybe 2 at the most people. We had 67 people from the community who signed up and said, I want Bible studies. I want to know more about Jesus. Blew my mind. In 1 week. And we were only there for a week, because at that time I was still a student at Andrews, and Dr. James was there, so we were leaving. So we were like, it was like that time with Peter in the boat. The net was so full, we didn't know what to do. So we had to hand over these names to the conference, and we prayed that God filled up with those people. But it showed me the power and the potential of simply prayer walking. Simply for this prayer walking system. But more than that, of having that work time in your small group meeting. If we didn't focus on the work time, we wouldn't have gone out. If we didn't go out, we wouldn't have made these contacts. So, this is one of the things that we have found is very helpful, but there are many things you could plan in your during the work time. You want to do an outreach, a community picnic, you want to raise money for an underserved community. Let the Spirit guide you and be as creative as one. But creative is we take that 10 minutes every time to plan how we're going to reach out to the community around us. Here's something that we found helpful in connection with praying. We call it a blessings list. We use the acronym BLESS. As I mentioned last night, we encourage everyone to have up to 5 people who you know, who live in your community. So yeah, you have an uncle on the West Coast, you definitely pray for him. But let's pray for someone who's local that they could potentially come and be a part of a small group. Blessing is just an acronym for different kind of things you could pray for. B for body or physical needs. L for labor needs at work, school, that kind of thing, finances. E, people's emotional needs, mental health, people are going through stuff. That's E. S for the social or relationship needs, marriage, the family, the kids, whatever, you know. And finally, S is for the spiritual needs that they will know God. So for people who sometimes like, I don't know what to pray for, I don't know how to pray for a person, here was a basic template. You know, bless that person, pray for their body, for their physical needs, pray for their labor, work needs, emotional needs, social relationship needs, spiritual needs. And so we would do that. As we walked around, we would pray for these things for our neighbors, but also we would identify 5 people. And with your prayer plan, we would meet once a week, you know, on the phone, wherever, and pray for those 5 people by names, and pray for this. And we would write these names down and call that list a blessings list. And what we would do is that we would encourage each group member to give us 2 names from their list of 5. And these are the people who they are closest to, who they feel like might be the most interested and open, potentially to come in and join the group. And so every week, after we do our little plan of what we're going to do, what our outreaches for the future, we would use also the work time as a prayer time, and we would pray for those names. So let's say that there are 10 people in the group, and each bring out 2 names. That's 20 names that we're praying for by name every week or every time we have our group meeting. And then we plan, you know, when we do our different outreach things, we make sure that we invite them from this. So this is just a couple of information. We're going to go to a breakout session now. I know I've been giving you a lot of information. But just as we end and we try to do something practical here, here are some things that you might want to do, some service evangelism ideas. Again, clean up a local park, give out free AC recharge in the summer. We did that a few years back in our church parking lot, which is a bit on Craigslist. We had so many people shout, wow, this is amazing, thank you so much. We handed them like information, contacts to us. There are so many things that you could do, right? You guys are smart, you can read, you can see it. There are things you can do. There's another thing that we did called party evangelism, not to get pastor in trouble. This is not the liberal Midwest that you have heard and feared. What we're really talking about is that we came to realize that every celebration in the life of any member of our small group was an opportunity to do evangelism. Graduation, engagement, baby shower, birthday, wedding, retirement, whatever it was, even the Super Bowl, right? Whatever, any opportunity we could have to celebrate something that was happening in the life of a group member, we did. And here's why. But it's my birthday, and I have a birthday party. Guess who I can invite to my birthday party? I can invite my friends. Which friends? Well, I have 5 people in my life I've been praying for, my blessings list. I have 2 particular that I've been working and connected with. I'm going to invite these friends to my birthday party. Who's throwing me a birthday party? Oh, I have a group of friends from a community I'm a part of that's throwing me a birthday party. Frank, Jim, you know, would you come? Of course, John, you know me. Yeah, well, we'd love to come to your birthday party. Then they come to my birthday party. Guess who they meet? All the friends from my small group. And guess what they discover? Man, our small group is nice, we cook some nice food, man, you guys are a very diverse, multicultural group, this is so interesting, you know, we have great conversations. On that day when we have the birthday party, We're just having fun. We're not talking no deep theology. We're not getting out the Daniel too sharp. We're just talking. We're just engaging, having fun. Hey, try my homemade salsa. Wow, that's spicy. What's that thing? Oh, that's Scotch bonnet. Oh, you know that's Scotch bonnet. We're just connecting. At the end of that party, my two friends had a great time, and they now know all of my small group members. So when I say to them, listen, you know those guys that we met the other day, you're like, oh yeah, listen. We do this thing every other Friday. We meet, we have a little simple meal. We talk about life. We talk about God. I'm a believer. Yeah, you've been sharing with God. Yeah, guys, if you want to come, you'd be welcome. Now it's much more easy for them to come because they already know. They already know half the people. Remember Pete that we met? Yeah, it's at this place. Oh yeah, Pete. Yeah, he's a fireman. Yeah. Yeah, let me check it out. And they come into the group, they already know everyone, they already feel comfortable. It's a very different environment than going straight from zero to come all the way to my church. Now praise God to the people who do that. Don't stop inviting people to church. But I'm saying that using the opportunities in your life to celebrate and bring people together is a wonderful thing. Final thing I'll say about this, I'm not giving you a lot of information. But I want you to, this is so important, this is the heart of having evangelistic small groups, not just small groups, but evangelistic small groups. We're talking about different ways that as a group, during the works time, you can plan for outreach ideas and opportunities to bring people close to Jesus and close to the group. So one way is through the prayer walking, another way, the blessings list, another way, the parties, inviting people, celebrating the milestones in the life of the group as a group, and inviting the friends and family of that person that you're celebrating to be a part of that group. Another thing that a small group can do is to run something that you could call an affinity group or a trimester group. What do I mean by that? So your small group, the kind of small groups that we're describing, sometimes are called holistic small groups, sometimes are called discipleship groups or life groups, different terms, they kind of mean the same thing. Basically what this means is that this is a group that is continuous and ongoing. Just as our worshiping church community is continuous and ongoing, even through COVID, we kept going, we need those small communities also to be continuous and ongoing. So it's not something to do for just a month or a few months here, it's something to do in an ongoing way. And it's a bit more challenging to do that, but I believe that it creates deeper experiences and results. But there is also great benefit to be had from shorter term groups or groups around certain interests. So our small groups, we try not to make them like, okay, this is the small groups just for people who are interested in golf. Because I mean, that could be a small group, but what about somebody who's not interested in golf? Then there's someone excluded. So just like we don't have churches that are just based on interests, our holistic small group, our life group, is not just based on interests. But one of the outreaches your group might do is to run another group. Now I know you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's too many groups. Now hear me out, okay? So you might, for example, have 2 or 3 people in your group who love, any kind of interest, okay? A sports or reading a certain type of book, or they're creative, they love to make art or music. We had a group that we ran that there were some people in our group that enjoyed knitting and crocheting. It wasn't everybody, it was 2 or 3 people. But they decided as their outreach, they would run a knitting crocheting group on a different time than we had our small group. And during that time, they would simply knit and talk and put on one of those period drama movies, like those British style movies in the background. They were into that. So that's what they did. And so this picture I'm showing with you is a young lady called Desiree. This is a picture from a few years back now. But she came to our group at Independent Faith in Jesus through one of these affinity groups, or trimester groups, the group that just lasted over a period of time. They happened to be a knitting group. And when she first joined the group, she's a very interesting person. I don't have to tell her story, but to come to the point, she was not connected to faith, she was not connected to church, she had deep questions and concerns about organized religion, but she was very creative, still is. And she wasn't doing anything in her life at the time. She was college age, she was in school, she was kind of just at home, just spent most of her time online. She's really not, her life wasn't going anywhere. But one of the members of our group, which happened to be now my wife, then was my fiancée, she worked with her sister. And so somehow the introduction was made, it was discovered, oh, you like crocheting, oh, I want to learn, or knitting, and so she ended up in the group. And she came to the group and she had these weird questions and weird ideas, and she was very strange, but she kept coming. And then after a while, I let her know, hey, listen, some of us from this group, we also have a small group that we meet every Thursday night. We talk about God and faith and the things you want to come from the car. And she was like, no, I can't, it's my shoulder on Thursday, but I'll think about it. A few weeks later, she was like, okay, I'm going to come on Thursday, but you've got to pick me up and get me back at a certain time so I can watch my show. And we're like, all right, it's fine, you can come. So she came, and she participated, but she was feeling very strange. And then after a while of coming to our group, we said, hey, listen, if we can come to the group, we're enjoying it. Like, we worship together, every week. This group and a few other groups that worship together, we are welcome to join us for worship. No, I couldn't possibly go, this, that, and the other thing. Plus, I don't have any clothes to wear. We said, this is not work, just wear whatever you want, you don't have to get dressed up, it's just this open invitation. A few weeks later, fine, I'm coming to church, but you have to pick me up, and I'm going to wear my jeans, and that's fine, no problem, just come. So she started coming to church. And I kid you not, about 3 months after she started coming to church, so she's coming to our small group, she's been in the knitting group, our small group, now she's coming to church. It's been about 3 months. And every week or so, after small group, I have this conversation with my wife. We should offer Desiree some Bible studies. I should offer some Bible studies. No, I should offer her Bible studies. Yeah, we should. But then something would happen, I would forget. Because I forget. About 3 months after coming to church, one day after church, she looks at me and says to me, okay, so when do I get baptized? How do you do this thing? I was like, what? No one's even talked to you about baptism, no one's giving you Bible study. It wasn't like there was an appeal at church. She made her own appeal to herself and came forth. I was blown away. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, of course, I guess we should find the Bible together. She's like, yeah, let's study the Bible. So we had Bible studies. She ended up getting baptized. To cut long story short, she ended up going to college. She ended up in her master's just last year. She graduated. She now put back faith in nature, and she now does art therapy. And she uses art as a way of ministering to people who are going through difficult, traumatic things like she went through. Just to see how God has used this young woman. And all because our small group had a works time. And out of that works time, we started a knitting group. Who knew that Jesus could hook people through a knitting needle? Who knew? God knew. So, I will end here. Hopefully I can cast a good vision for you that you must have this as an element of your small group. And now what we're going to do is we're going to break out into groups to try to practice a little bit of what we have just learned. So, what I would like you to do is two things, okay? If you can. We'll see how the time allows us. We save a little time so we have a little extra time for the breakout group. I want you to try and practice. Imagine as though you are a small group. I believe Pastor has broken you up into different groups. Those of you here online will be one group together. I want you to imagine that you are a small group and you're in your small group meeting and you are going to do welcome, going to do the icebreaker. You are going to do the work section. So let me review for you what the icebreaker is going to be. You're going to talk with each other and answer the question together. Where did you grow up between the ages of 7 and 12? Okay? So I believe Pastor may have made some people facilitators with those groups. If not, choose someone among them to facilitate. And facilitator, your only job is to ask the question. You ask the question, then you let people discuss. Don't have to go around the circle one by one. Just whoever feels free wants to share. Where did you grow up between the ages of 7 and 12? Give some details, tell the story. Talk about what it was like when you were 12, when you grew up wherever you did in Honduras or in the tough suburbs of New York. Right? So, that's the first thing. Now after about 10 or 15 minutes, I want you to switch over and now go to a work section. So again, imagine you are a small group. You've been meeting together. You are planning some kind of outreach. You can decide what you want it to be. Is it going to be prayer walking? Is it going to be some kind of an event like cleaning up the park? Are you going to plan a party for someone in the group so they can invite their friends? Are you going to start some sort of affinity group, a workout group out of the group, a Bible study group, whatever it is? So you can choose. So dream together. Imagine that this is your group. We're planning in a month, we're going to do this thing. What is it that we're going to do? How are we going to do it? Where should we go? What should we use? Etc. etc. Does that make sense? I can only see one group that has the camera on, and you're in a room, the door is open, you're on white chairs. If you can hear me, it makes sense. Okay, someone give me a thumbs up, so it makes sense, right? So first, you're going to do icebreaker. Get in the group. Where did you live between the ages of 7 and 12 years old? After that 10 minutes or so, facilitators transition them on. Now we'll spend 10 minutes or so planning our group outreach project, whatever that's going to be with the size of the group. Any questions? Pastor, is it clear?
Yeah, clear.
I will leave you to those in the room, I will leave you to that. Those online, we will stay here and talk here, and probably we'll just make one breakout room so that our talking doesn't disturb the other groups. So and we'll aim to come back together. We'll aim to come back together at 3. Right now, yes, it's 2:56 your time. We're going to come back at about 3:20, 3:25.